Hello and welcome, extraordinary viewers. You're in for a gripping story today, one of resilience, strategy, and an unstoppable rise to power. Meet Olivia, a woman who was underestimated by everyone, including her own husband, but what they didn't see coming was her quiet strength, her unwavering patience, and her brilliant plan to turn the tables. This isn't just a comeback, it's a masterstroke of empowerment and triumph. So get comfortable, because once this story starts, you won't be able to look away. If Olivia's journey inspires you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because true strength deserves to be seen. Olivia had always prided herself on her work ethic and the quiet strength that had propelled her from being an administrative assistant to the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the city. At 32, she was a woman who had worked tirelessly, earning respect from her colleagues and peers. But at home, things were different. Her husband, Ethan, a charming but arrogant man, took credit for every success, especially her own. He loved to brag about their wealth, crediting his brilliant business moves while belittling Olivia's achievements. Their luxurious lifestyle, expensive vacations, grand homes, and designer clothes was all attributed to Ethan's so-called financial genius. In the eyes of his family, Ethan was the mastermind, and Olivia was just the supportive wife who got lucky. But Olivia knew better. Beneath the surface, she had been quietly monitoring Ethan's behavior for months. What he thought were his hidden accounts and secretive financial maneuvers were not as concealed as he believed. Olivia had begun to notice the cracks in Ethan's stories, his unexplained absences, his evasiveness when asked about their finances, and the strange business dinners he always seemed to have with his assistant, Ava. Olivia had spent years building her career, never once questioning Ethan's control over their personal finances. But now, something didn't sit right. The signs were all there, and Olivia knew it was time to dig deeper. What she found would change everything. The stakes were high, and this was no longer just about the company or their marriage. It was about exposing Ethan for the fraud he truly was. As Olivia dug deeper into Ethan's financial activities, the extent of his manipulation became increasingly clear. What had started as small discrepancies in their accounts soon revealed a complex web of deception. Ethan's so-called business genius was nothing more than a series of calculated schemes designed to enrich himself at the expense of the company and Olivia, whom he had so carefully kept in the dark. His business dinners with Ava, his assistant, were not simply meetings, they were opportunities for him to funnel company funds into their private accounts. Olivia discovered that he had been making unauthorized loans from the company's coffers to set up shell companies that he had secretly controlled. He created fake invoices for consulting fees and funneled money through these companies, all while claiming he was making brilliant investments. Every time Ethan bragged about his success, Olivia could now see it for what it truly was, a facade. But it wasn't just the financial manipulation that shocked her, it was the careful orchestration behind it. Ethan's control over their personal finances had never seemed problematic before. He always took charge of their accounts, convinced her that it was easier for him to handle such matters. In hindsight, Olivia realized this was part of his strategy to keep her isolated from the true picture, allowing him to maintain complete control. His arrogance had blinded him, and Olivia's quiet observations had finally given her the edge she needed. Each email, each bank statement, and every shady transfer revealed the same pattern. Ethan had been siphoning off funds from both the company and their joint account to live a lifestyle far beyond what his salary could support. Olivia was particularly disturbed by the transactions that had funded their lavish vacations, the expensive cars they drove, and the designer gifts he had given to Ava, all with money that should have been reinvested into the business. But there was one more piece of the puzzle, the affair. The evidence she gathered was irrefutable. Ava wasn't just a loyal assistant, she was complicit in Ethan's embezzlement and had been his partner in crime, both in the office and in his personal life. Olivia found hundreds of flirtatious emails between the two of them, as well as photos from trips they had taken together, funded by the company's stolen funds. Ethan had believed that his secret life would remain hidden, but Olivia had been tracking everything. She had known something was off for a while, but now the truth was impossible to deny. The final blow came when Olivia discovered the truth about Ethan's plans to leave her. He had set up a separate, secret account under a false name, preparing for the day when he would flee with Ava and the money he had stolen. His plan was to leave with a comfortable nest egg, while Olivia would be left behind, none the wiser. The betrayal stung deeply, but Olivia's determination only strengthened. She knew this was the moment she had been waiting for. Every piece of evidence she had meticulously collected over the past months was leading her to the point of no return. Ethan had underestimated her at every turn. He thought he could get away with his lies, his manipulation, and his affair, but Olivia was ready to expose him for the fraud he truly was. She wasn't just a secretary anymore, she was the CEO of the company he had tried to control. And now, she had the power to bring everything crashing down around him. As she sat back and reviewed all the evidence, transaction records, emails, photographs, Olivia realized that this wasn't just about exposing Ethan's financial crimes. It was about reclaiming her power, showing him that she had always been the one pulling the strings. Quietly and strategically, she had built her career from the ground up, and now she would use everything she had learned to bring Ethan to justice. The manipulation was no longer a secret, and the stage was set for Olivia to take control of her life and her company. Olivia's mind was a whirlwind of strategy as she began formulating her plan. She had spent months documenting Ethan's financial manipulations, and now it was time to take action. This wasn't just about reclaiming her dignity, it was about securing her future, protecting the company she had built, and making sure Ethan faced the consequences of his betrayal. The first step in her plan was to ensure that the evidence she had meticulously gathered was ironclad. She enlisted the help of a trusted internal auditor, someone she knew she could rely on to verify the financial transactions and discrepancies that had been hidden in plain sight. This audit would be the backbone of her case, providing undeniable proof of Ethan's embezzlement and fraudulent activities. As the auditor worked through the documentation, Olivia focused on preparing the legal groundwork. She consulted with her top lawyer, ensuring that everything was in place for a successful move. Together, they crafted a divorce petition that not only covered the emotional aspect of the split but also tied in Ethan's financial crimes, making it clear that Olivia would not tolerate his theft. But the divorce wasn't the only avenue Olivia planned to pursue. Her first priority was the company. She had worked hard to earn her position as CEO. And now it was time to protect the business from Ethan's influence. Olivia started drafting a formal notice to the board of directors, informing them of the impending investigation into Ethan's activities and the possible criminal ramifications. She prepared herself for the moment when she would have to confront him in the boardroom. She knew he would try to talk his way out of it, as he always did, but this time, he wouldn't have the upper hand. Olivia would be ready. While the legal and financial aspects of the plan took shape, Olivia also focused on securing her personal assets. She had always trusted Ethan to handle their finances, but now she had to make sure he couldn't touch any of her hard-earned wealth. She transferred her personal savings into a separate account, one that was completely beyond Ethan's reach. She also began shifting her assets around, ensuring that if Ethan tried to claim any portion of her earnings, he would be left with nothing. Olivia's actions were calculated and deliberate. She didn't want to move too quickly, but she knew that the longer she waited, the more difficult it would be to prove Ethan's misconduct. She started creating a detailed timeline of his actions, outlining when the fraudulent transactions had taken place and how much money had been siphoned off. This timeline would be crucial in presenting her case. She knew that once she exposed Ethan, there would be no turning back. He would try to deflect and deny, but the facts were stacked against him. To cover all her bases, Olivia also made sure to keep a close eye on Ethan's interactions with Ava, his assistant and accomplice. While she had already gathered a significant amount of evidence on their affair, Olivia knew that Ava could be a key witness in proving Ethan's financial misconduct. Olivia reached out to her security team and instructed them to gather any additional information on Ava's involvement, including emails, messages, and any other evidence of her role in Ethan's schemes. She knew that exposing Ava would add an extra layer of accountability to Ethan's actions, making it harder for him to wiggle his way out of the consequences. With everything in place, Olivia set her plan into motion. She called an emergency board meeting, where she intended to reveal Ethan's crimes and take control of the company. She knew that this would be a defining moment for her career, once the truth came out. There would be no going back. But Olivia wasn't scared. She had been underestimated for so long. And now it was time to show everyone who she really was. She would no longer be the dutiful wife who stood in the background while Ethan basked in the glow of his false success. She was the CEO of this company. And she had earned her place at the table. As she walked into her office one final time before the meeting, she looked at her reflection in the glass. For the first time in a long while, Olivia felt a sense of calm. The pieces were in place. And she was ready. Ethan thought he could manipulate her, take credit for her hard work, and get away with it. But Olivia knew better. She had spent years building her career, learning the ins and outs of the business, and carefully observing Ethan's every move. Now, the tables had turned, and she was in control. With everything set, Olivia couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She had been patient, and now it was time to show Ethan that the quietest person in the room was often the most dangerous. She wasn't just going to expose his crimes, she was going to take everything back and ensure that he would never underestimate her again. The boardroom was silent as Olivia entered, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, signaling the beginning of a new chapter. Ethan sat at the center of the table, his usual cocky smile replaced with a look of confusion as he glanced up from his phone. He had no idea what was coming. Olivia took her place at the head of the table, her calm demeanor belying the storm she was about to unleash. "Sarah, what's this about?" Ethan asked, clearly caught off guard. "The secretaries usually leave the coffee, not sit at the table." Olivia gave him a polite smile, her eyes never leaving his. "Actually, Ethan, I called this meeting," she said, her voice steady but firm. The board members, who had always deferred to Ethan, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Sensing the tension in the air, Olivia nodded to her assistant, Bradley, who began distributing folders to everyone present. As the board members flipped through the documents, Olivia began her calculated revelation. "We have several urgent matters to discuss today. But first, Ethan, I'd like to address some concerns about your recent activities," she said. The color drained from Ethan's face as he opened the folder in front of him. The documents were clear, photos of his lavish dinners with Ava, bank statements detailing his unauthorized transfers, emails outlining his plans to embezzle funds, and records of his secret offshore accounts. The truth was laid bare in front of him. "What is this?" Ethan stammered, flipping through the papers in disbelief. "This is a mistake. I can explain." Olivia's smile never wavered. "Oh, I'm sure you can," she said, her tone cool. "But let me guess, this is all part of your brilliant financial moves, right?" She leaned forward slightly. "Tell me about the shell companies you created using company funds, Ethan. Or perhaps you'd like to explain the offshore account you set up last month?" Ethan's hands trembled as he struggled to come up with an excuse. Olivia continued. "The house, the cars, the vacation homes, the things you've bragged about to your family? That was all bought with company money. Not your genius, not your investments. My money." Ethan's face had gone from pale to green as the reality of his situation set in. He had been exposed, and there was no way out. Olivia remained calm, watching him unravel. "Ethan, you've been using this company to fund your personal life. And now your actions are catching up with you." She nodded to Jessica, who stepped forward with another set of documents. "Effective immediately. You're being terminated for cause. The evidence of your embezzlement has been forwarded to the proper authorities. Security will escort you to your office to collect your personal belongings." Ethan stood, his voice rising in panic. "You can't do this to me. I'm your husband." Olivia didn't flinch. "Not anymore," she said softly. "And as for you," she continued, pulling out another set of papers. "These are divorce papers. Given the evidence of your misconduct and multiple affairs, my lawyers expect a swift process." Ethan was now visibly shaking, realizing the full scope of the consequences. As security stepped forward to escort him out, Olivia sat back in her chair, watching him crumble. The smug, confident man who thought he had everything under control was now nothing more than a desperate, defeated man. The boardroom was silent except for the faint murmur of whispers. Olivia had won. The aftermath of the boardroom confrontation unfolded quickly, and Olivia's strategy was already in full motion. As security escorted Ethan out of the building, his world crumbled in front of him. The evidence she had painstakingly gathered, his financial fraud, his affair with Ava, and his attempts to embezzle company funds, had been exposed. There was no way for Ethan to backtrack or salvage his reputation. The board members, many of whom had once turned a blind eye to his arrogance and manipulation, were now fully aware of the extent of his misconduct. Olivia, ever composed, turned her attention to the immediate next steps. With Ethan gone and the company's financials secured, she focused on stabilizing the business. The first task was to ensure that the embezzled funds were traced and recovered. Olivia worked closely with the internal audit team, pushing them to trace every penny that had been misappropriated. She knew that Ethan's betrayal was not just personal, it was deeply damaging to the company's financial standing. The audit was thorough, ensuring that every transaction was accounted for. Every shell company he had set up was uncovered, and every illicit transfer was reversed. Olivia's determination to protect the company she had built was unwavering. As the forensic accounting team combed through the records, Olivia took charge of the company's communications. She personally called the key clients and stakeholders, explaining the situation and assuring them that the company was in good hands. Her calm and decisive leadership reassured them that the business was more than just one man's manipulation. It was a well-established institution, with a team of talented people who would continue to drive its success, no matter what. While Ethan was scrambling to figure out his next move, Olivia was already positioning herself as a strong, unshakable leader. But it wasn't just about the company. Olivia knew the personal side of her plan was just as crucial. She had already initiated the divorce process, and her lawyers were moving swiftly to secure her assets. They worked together to ensure that Ethan would be left with nothing, his assets frozen, his accounts investigated, and his share of the company erased. Olivia's lawyers were thorough, gathering every bit of evidence to ensure a swift and favorable outcome for her. She had no intention of allowing Ethan to walk away with a single cent of what she had earned. His attempts to hide assets were futile, as Olivia had already moved her personal wealth into separate accounts long before the confrontation. Every step had been carefully planned, and Olivia was now executing it with precision. But there was one more step Olivia had to take to completely sever ties with Ethan: dealing with Ava. As much as Ethan had relied on her as an accomplice, Ava had underestimated Olivia as well. Olivia had long suspected that Ava's role in Ethan's financial schemes went beyond being just an assistant. It became clear after the confrontation that Ava had been a willing participant in the manipulation and infidelity. Olivia decided to confront Ava directly, but in a way that would leave her with no option but to walk away. She arranged a meeting with Ava, where she laid out everything she had discovered, every illicit transfer, every conversation between her and Ethan, and every plan they had devised to secure his escape. Olivia knew that Ava's loyalty was tied to Ethan's success, and once he was exposed, Ava would have nowhere to hide. Olivia's confrontation with Ava wasn't just about revenge, it was about ensuring that every person who had helped Ethan maintain his deception faced the consequences. Ava, clearly rattled, was offered a simple choice: step away from the company, leave Ethan behind, or risk being exposed as an accomplice. Olivia had the power, and she made sure Ava knew it. With both Ethan and Ava removed from the equation, Olivia turned her focus back to the company. Under her leadership, the business began to recover quickly. The audit was completed, the stolen funds were tracked down and returned, and the company's financials were stronger than ever. Olivia took charge of the strategic direction of the business, working with her team to ensure that it continued to grow. She worked tirelessly, knowing that the company's success was now a reflection of her own resilience. As her leadership became more visible to the public, Olivia's reputation grew, and so did her confidence. She had turned the darkest chapter of her life into an opportunity to shine. She had reclaimed everything: her career, her company, and her peace of mind. And in doing so, she had proved that sometimes, the quietest ones are the ones you should watch out for. The once overlooked secretary had now become a formidable CEO. unstoppable and unshakable. The resolution came swiftly after Olivia's calculated moves. The company, once at risk of being undermined by Ethan's greed and deceit, quickly regained its footing under her leadership. The board of directors, initially hesitant to challenge Ethan's authority, now saw Olivia as the strong, decisive leader the company needed. Olivia's meticulous recovery of the embezzled funds and the removal of all fraudulent transactions helped restore financial stability, and the company's reputation remained intact. Ethan, meanwhile, faced a harsh reality. His assets were frozen, his embezzlement charges were pursued by the authorities, and his affair with Ava had cost him everything. His once luxurious lifestyle crumbled as he found himself facing legal consequences and the humiliation of being exposed. Ava, realizing the depth of her involvement, chose to leave the company quietly, her future uncertain after Olivia's confrontation. As Olivia's personal life also began to settle, she moved forward with the divorce, ensuring her personal wealth and assets were fully protected. She felt no anger, only a sense of calm and control. Her patience and strategy had paid off. Professionally, Olivia flourished as CEO, her confidence solidified by her ability to navigate such a turbulent time. The company thrived, its profits rising under her leadership, and Olivia's reputation as a leader who could weather any storm grew stronger. Personally, Olivia was free from the shackles of her toxic marriage, no longer the secretary everyone had underestimated. The best part? Ethan had never seen it coming. Olivia had reclaimed everything: her career, her dignity, and her peace of mind. She had proven that sometimes the greatest power lies in waiting for the perfect moment to take control. The story teaches that patience, resilience, and strategic thinking can turn the tables even in the face of betrayal. Olivia's quiet determination and careful planning allowed her to reclaim control over her career, finances, and personal life. The lesson is clear: being underestimated can be a powerful advantage. It's not always about reacting impulsively but about gathering knowledge, making calculated moves, and executing a plan at the right moment. Olivia's story reminds us that true strength lies in our ability to rise above challenges, expose deception, and ultimately use adversity to our benefit.